Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of pop culture, TV, film, social media, sports, everything really. Depending on the guests, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on social media, you know me as PD Beats. And I am speaking to the gentleman behind a new comedy series called Short Term Sentence. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and who they are in the series, starting with Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Claydon, and I play DJ Keverlast.
Yeah, I'm Phil Moniz, and I play Phil.
I'm Evan Landry. Yeah, we're very creative on naming our characters. I'm Evan Landry, and I'm the producer and one of the creators. We all created it and wrote it together.
Well, gentlemen, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I watched it. I feel like it's a very good time to release content because I feel like a lot of people are watching content right now. So kind of like, I mean, we can start with you, Evan. I mean, like as the creator, I mean, what was kind of the idea with the series, like from the first kind of couple of, weeks or months of developing it? What did you guys want to do with it?
Well, we all created it together. So we're all the creators and wrote it together. I think, we're all living together and still live together, which is pretty ridiculous. And we were all in the industry in different paths, and we decided that we wanted to make something together. And I think Kevin and I were out for dinner one night and kind of came up with the premise for the show. And Phil wasn't acting at the time really, but we decided that we were gonna coerce him into acting.
So what was that conversation like, Phil? Like what did they tell you?
Well, so I mean, we've all been working together for a while in different capacities, but I've always kind of been behind camera, and I didn't like acting is never really something that I was really like driving towards. But they approached me and they said we have this idea, and immediately I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable with that. And then they had sort of, written out like a few scenes and like an early draft of one of the episodes. Pilot.
Yeah.
And, they pitched me, Kevin and I have been friends. I mean, we all have, but Kevin and I have been friends since we were like 2. And, I think it was kind of based on like the dynamic that people seem to enjoy between us anyway. The characters aren't us, but the way they interact with each other very much are. So I was reluctant, but then I read that kind of early draft of the first episode, and it was sort of like, damn it, fine. This is pretty funny. Yeah. I can see this working, and I already, sort of had ideas spinning in my head on what we could do with it. So I was convinced.
It was too good for him to say no.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I was gonna kind of ask you as well. I mean, people can watch the series season 1 right now. They can watch it right now on Facebook. But what was so without giving up too much away? I mean, what could people expect with Short Term Sentence in terms of the style of comedy? I mean, it's about people living together. What could they expect?
Yeah, I think it's I mean, it is a comedy about it's sort of an exaggerated comedy of our lives. But it is grounded in reality and truth, like of our friendship. So it's not. It's probably like a comedy tone that you're used to if you were to watch like something that Apatow does or something like that within that. So that's sort of the genre you're looking at, I think. But we sort of also made it our own a little bit. We were we actually directed episodes, so we wanted to make sure that it was definitely like our voice. Mm-hmm. So like it's fun, but it's not like it's not. It has some heart to it. Right. Yeah. It's like all the comedy is rooted in something that matters. So yeah,
it's a balance of ridiculousness and heartfelt humor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now I do want to ask, and anyone can answer this question. I mean, it's scripted, right? There's a script, correct? Is there some improv that happens?
There is. There wasn't a ton on the day. I mean, the three of us have been writing, like I said, for a long time, and Kevin and I, in terms of directing the episodes, and because we lived together and we were in pretty much every scene, we did a lot of rehearsals. We both, like when we're doing any of our film projects, we're really big on rehearsals. So a lot of that improv sort of came out of those those sessions versus the actual shoot. I mean, we also really wanted to make sure that we were making our days and stuff like that. So we
just
kind of ironed everything out.
Time. It's really difficult. The improv takes a lot of time. So there is some in there for sure. Like there's no question. We played around and there's some improv and but a lot of it is scripted. Like a lot of it is sort of, we just took the time to work through like organic like responses to everything through rehearsals and then we went.
I think you guys were pretty buttoned down, but we did let the other actors have a little bit of room to have some fun. Like you can see like Chris Locke and Jason DeLine, the two guys that played Phil's colleagues in episode 2, they did a lot of improv. That was awesome.
We had an opportunity to work with some like really good Canadian actors in it and comedians, and so we tried to give them some leeway to make it their own a little bit, because that always makes it better, especially with sort of smaller roles. You want to give them room to bring their own thing to it, because like they're gonna know that character in that comedy more than even we will as writers. So
a more general question. I mean, we'll go down the line here, and Evan, I want to start with you. I mean, what kind of, because I find like whether it's like directing, writing, acting, like it's all storytelling. You know what I mean? So I kind of want to know, like all three of you, like when did you guys decide, like on your own, that you wanted to be like a storyteller and create things? Evan, like when did that start for you?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think my dad's an actor and my mom's an artist, so I didn't really stand much of a chance. And
you didn't really have a choice, right?
Yeah, I was kind of like, at one point I was at Brazil planning to go to law school, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like this doesn't make any sense. And I'd always really enjoyed, doing in high school and in university, kind of entertaining people, and I'd like performing a little bit then as well. And it's just, I think it ultimately it's just desire to make people laugh and provide some entertainment and distraction from all the bullshit that's going on right now.
And Phil, what about you? I mean, you kind of said you kind of got roped into this series, but like, did you know that maybe this was type of stuff that you were kind of interested in doing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so Kevin and I went to U of T together, and we did cinema studies. So I think I've always been into, movies and I actually like, and writing especially. Like I thought, in high school, I'm like, I'm going to be an author or something like that. But we sort of in university kind of really gravitated more towards like, when we're done school, we want to actually give this a go in terms of making film and TV and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, it was really then. I mean, I've always been attracted to the writing aspect, especially, which is primarily what I do. So yeah, it was really then. And then we started making our crappy little student films and stuff like that. So it really sort of got born there.
And Kevin, oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
So I was going to say our first project was a mockumentary that we made in 2009, which was
On the Fringe.
Quite ridiculous.
So you guys have known each other for quite some time then.
So like I said, I met Kevin when I was 2 because my grandma, who babysat me, lived next door to his babysitter. And then I pretty much known Evan like almost as long as we would have met.
We went to preschool together when we were like 3 or 4.
Yeah. And
then we all went to high school together and have lived together.
So it's just a natural fit and connection, right? Between the three.
We're all pretty similar sensibilities, especially, like comedically and stuff. So,
yeah. It was also the amount of times that people would say to Kevin and Phil, like, oh man, you guys are hilarious. You should make a show about your friendship. And then, we called their bluff.
Yeah.
Maybe no one was actually serious, but
here we are.
And for Kevin, I mean, it's the storytelling thing I want to ask you too, but I also want to kind of loop in another question because I mentioned in the preamble before we started. I mean, a lot of people will recognize you from other shows as well, like 21 Thunder about soccer, which was on Netflix for a little bit as well. When did you kind of decide to do that? And are you kind of, because you created this series, right? Are you kind of looking to do more writing and directing and creating, or do you still see kind of acting as kind of the primary thing for Kevin Claydon?
So I never really, honestly, like I've been acting for the past few years, but when I went to school with Phil for like cinema studies, like I thought I was going to be a director and a writer primarily. And it was only like when I had to sort of put myself in our own like short films because we couldn't afford to pay actors and stuff. And I realized I got really curious about acting and I had a bit of a knack for it. And then I started to work. And I got a lot of people telling me sort of along the way that like that's what I should be focusing on at that moment. So I did, and I have. But I really do like writing, and I don't see myself as just an actor. Like I directed for the first time on this on Short Sentence, and which I really liked, and I sort of look at that and go like, I could, like, that's definitely creatively rewarding.
Yeah,
so like, that's definitely something I want to keep doing. But I think that acting is one of those things where like I'm never done with it, because it's impossible to get perfectly and you never stop learning. So like I'll always sort of have that excitement to get in front of the camera.
Yeah, it was a funny kind of role reversal on this one, because like Kevin was saying, so I sort of fell more on the directing side, whereas you fell on the acting side, because when you're making your student film, someone has to be behind the camera, someone has to be on it. And then this was really like the first time I really, dove into like an actual acting role. And this was Kevin's first time directing. So
I guess technically it's the second time, because you guys did do that Lord of the Rings spoof.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like, because I'm from Montreal, right? So when I moved to Ottawa, I kind of went more the communication, like I did my master's in communications. I did more of the sports stuff. But like when I was in CEGEP in Montreal, I did the cinema communications program. And there's a lot of people that live in Toronto right now. So I feel like afterwards we'll talk. I feel like we probably know a lot of similar people.
I bet,
yeah.
Yeah, I went to university in Montreal as well. I love that. It's a great city.
Where did you?
Under there.
Did you go to Concordia or McGill?
McGill, actually.
Nice.
I was on that weird lawyer route for a little bit, and I was like,
yeah, they were saying. So, Phil, this question is for you. I'm gonna say something right now, and you're gonna explain it because we talked about it. Thunder Dungeon. What's going on with the Thunder Dungeon?
Okay, so Thunder Dungeon is a business that I started with another long-term friend about 7 or 8 years ago. And we just started doing like original content on Facebook, YouTube, all that sort of thing. And then we've managed now to grow it on Facebook to over 2 million users. So we're one of the larger pages in Canada.
Wow, good for you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what we really see it, like we do a lot of work with like Toronto comedians and stuff like that, creating content. We have an app that we're like have been chunking along on for a while. So like it's basically just comedic content, from the internet and stuff that we make and all that kind of stuff. So, in terms of the context of this series, we, because we had such a large audience, we decided that the best way to launch it would be to use that. And we always kind of intended to do that, rather than necessarily looking for another place that wouldn't really let us do it the way that we wanted to do it. So that's basically the rundown. It's Thunder Dungeon on Facebook. We have Instagram and all that. And our app is called just Thunder in the App Store. So it's just a comedic hub.
But your show is available also, like, it was like, when I watched, it was like Facebook Watch, right?
Yeah, so we opted, we have Facebook partners, and we talked to them about the best way to launch it there. And essentially they're pushing the Watch platform really hard right now. So
they are. I see that.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially it was, you could upload it to the page, or you could upload it to the page and enable it on Facebook Watch, which means like it might get more eyeballs of people that aren't necessarily just subscribed to your page.
Yep.
And they have a whole bunch of new features with like doing, scripted content and stuff like that. So it was a bit of an experiment. And I mean, it went pretty well, but it was an interesting platform to try to launch everything on. But
absolutely. Kevin, this is, I would say, this show, Short Term Sentence, is in the category of, it's like a comedy series, but I call it like this in the slice of life category, so to speak. So when you were kind of making this, what were some of your favorite kind of moments or parts of the show that you were able to put in that were specifically from your kind of personal life and your past experiences? Because I feel like a lot of people do that, right? Especially with this, right?
Yeah, I would say I think that like I have got hired a lot as an actor to play kind of the heavy. Yeah. So like in 21 Thunder, for instance, is just like an angry guy who,
or Kim's Convenience, the cop at the store.
Exactly, right. So like I'm much more and like I think in real life I do have a lot more like levity to me. Like I am a bit more of an idiot just in terms of like the everyday.
Yes.
Fun fact, I actually watched, sorry to interrupt you, but I watched your Kim's Convenience episode literally like the day after I was like told about Short Term Sentence. Okay. And then I was like, oh my God, that's the guy for Short Term Sentence.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere, yeah. But yeah, so I like there definitely is a goofier side to me, and I don't actually take myself as seriously as the characters that I end up playing and all these things where I'm super like, I'm this brooding guy. So like so that was that's one of the things I definitely wanted to bring to this. And it was easy to do because I got to do it with Phil, and like Phil knows me better than anyone, and he knows how much of an idiot I am. being able to just do that, like it was like, honestly, it was like it fit like a glove. Like it was so in terms of like specific things of myself that I brought to it, I mean, it was just I think more than anything, it was like the everyday interactions with Phil where I'll do something stupid that pisses him off, and then I find it amusing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just been that's been our entire friendship for, over 20 years.
Kevin's also always wanted to bleach his hair. So this was a great opportunity for him to make us let him bleach his hair.
And I think the
3 separate times, actually.
Yeah.
We had to bleach his hair 3 times because we had to do reshoots, which I still think he kind of orchestrated.
How long did it take you to film the first season? Like, what was the whole process? Like, how long was it?
So we shot over 2 weeks, with probably about a solid month of kind of, sustained prep. And then the post process took quite a long time. So I mean,
it looks awesome. Like you guys did a really good job of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't take all the credit. Our cinematographer Matt Barkley was a big part of it. When we were trying to figure out like what the look of the show would be and the style, like having directed before and having worked with Matt before, we kind of looked right to him because we knew that we would have to move quickly on the days. There was a lot to shoot in a pretty limited amount of time, and we picked a style that would be fairly fluid so we could sort of light the scene and then move the camera around when we needed. And he really did a good job. And I think that was kind of one thing that we can really lean on with it is that like we really wanted it not to look like a web series, even though it is a web series. We wanted it to look like a show. And
premium short form series.
A premium short form series.
Premium short form.
So
would you like the term web series because it's on the web, right? And people can watch it. Like, what do you guys think of that term?
With it as but there certainly is, like, again, to my last point, I mean, there's an idea of what a web series is, which is often like a little cheaper looking. It can be, which is one of the things I love about the internet, having worked on the internet for so long, is it can really be anything.
Yep. So
I think our only issue with the term is just like we want people to know that this is like a narrative show that's like kind of firing all cylinders and stuff.
It's funny because I don't know, undeservedly has a bit of a stigma, as Phil said, where it's like sometimes people in the industry will hear web series and they'll just kind of write it off, and then when they see our show they're like, oh, this is actually good. It's like we tried to make something good. That's definitely, it's like a real, or like our friends who saw the show were like, oh wow, guys, this is actually like a real show. And we're like, yeah, we're professionals. I would hope so. Where did you think this was going to be? Like, what?
Yeah,
for sure. Very quickly before wrap, I did want to ask, this is just a general thing. So we're all 4 of us are from Canada, grew up in Canada, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So we grew up watching a lot of Canadian TV and Canadian film. We can't argue that there used to be a stigma attached to Canadian content where it wasn't as good as the content being released in the United States of America. There was always that, okay? Especially in the comedy series, in my opinion, that, and with the global distribution on streaming services, that stigma is completely gone. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I for sure agree with that. It's an interesting thing because there's so much comedy talent over the past, 30, 40 years that has come out of Canada, but they've all kind of gone to the US.
Yeah.
And I think, like we, especially with streaming, like things like Trailer Park Boys, once they hit Netflix, Kim's Convenience, Schitt's Creek, Letterkenny, like these things were
Working Moms.
Working Moms, that's another great one.
What's the sketch one?
Baron Bot, yeah.
Those shows have done so well internationally and really kind of.
But what's interesting though is they really hit this level when they sell internationally after a few seasons, right? And that's where all the streaming platforms scoop them up when they have multiple seasons that they can put on their platform. But it's funny because they sort of sit like in Canada, there's sort of these hidden gems, and they really start to blow up when they hit those international markets. And like personally, I would like to see a little bit more excitement around these shows before they're validated by the American market.
No, that's a fair point for sure.
Yeah. That's just a personal thing. I mean,
it's also an access thing too, though, right? The problem is, like, they weren't like, if you weren't in Canada, you couldn't watch it, type thing.
Well, and sort of this is kind of one of the things that I've been working on is that there aren't a plethora of platforms here, the way there are in other countries, and so stuff like what we're doing with Thunder Dungeon is trying to sort of create gradually these places where people can go for this content, whether Canadian or not, but with a specific slant on Canada, because and that was one of the reasons why we wanted to launch it there, is that we could get it to Canadians very easily because it's just on a platform like Facebook that they're already using.
But Kevin, you were in an episode of Kim's Convenience. I mean, that show is a perfect example of, like, I did an Instagram live with Paul, who plays Appa, and literally we had people, like, at one point, like, there were people, like, saying things like, I love your show and I'm so far away. So we had people, like, say, like, where they were from, like, in the comments. Yeah. And, like, it was the most insane thing I've ever seen, because you have people literally from, like, all around the world tuning in on different time zones for Kim's Convenience, a Canadian show. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, and I talked to him about this, about how he was very, like, it sort of took on its own life after it sort of landed on other platforms, right? And like, it's really great that show is getting appreciated for how funny it is. Like, regardless of the country it comes from, but, like, it's just funny, right? And people respond to that. Same with Schitt's Creek. Same with Letterkenny. Like, they're just at a high level, and they're really well done. And it's good that like that popularity is just coming straight from merit. For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on Popternative to talk about Short-Term Sentence. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, plug away, everyone. I want to know where they can watch Short-Term Sentence, and then I want all of you guys to plug, like, where can people kind of follow you guys on social media, keep up to date with other projects as well. So, plug away.
Well, I mean, I've already plugged Thunder Dungeon 3 or 4 times during this interview, so...
Plug it more. Plug it 5 times. Plug it 10 times.
All the episodes are on shorttermsentence.com. You can also get them on the Thunder Dungeon Facebook page or the Watch channel. And yeah, just all the related socials, and they're on our app as well, which is just the Thunder app in all the app stores.
And you can follow at Short-Term Sentence on Instagram and at the Real Keverlast 69, which is Kevin's character Instagram account.
It's quite something.
I did a whole class in school about, like, parody accounts, like that was like an actual, like, it was like it was a media class, but, like, we picked a project to work on, and, like, we ended up, like, making, like, a fake account of, like, a movie character, and seeing all the reactions, interactions, like that. That's great. Like, the parody accounts were, like, actually taught in school. I just want to let you know. So you're doing something, Kevin. You're doing something educational.
There you go. Well, I'm always glad to help. You can follow me at KG Claydon on Instagram, and again, shorttermsentence.com is where you're gonna get the series.
And we need to make a shout out to the IPF, the Independent Production Fund, who funded this series and supported us, which, they were fantastic. And hopefully we'll be making a season 2 or developing this into a half hour.
Amazing.
We're working on now.
Amazing, guys. Well, thank you so much. Seriously, this was awesome.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having us.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Popternative. You can check out Short-Term Sentence now on shorttermsentence.com and youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. And until next time, this is Evan, Phil, Kevin, and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.